Ever wondered what lurked beneath the facade of honor and dignity in Japan? Today we peel back the dark layers of the legendary samurai warriors in our gripping exploration of samurai cruelty. From the depths of samurai brutality and violence to the gruesome rituals of warfare, torture techniques, and the oppression of women. But hold on to your seats because there's still stories in this video lurking in the shadows. Oh my god, so scary. Waiting to be unveiled. The dark side of the samurai code. Picture this, you're transported back to feudal Japan, a time of honor, tradition, and the legendary samurai warriors. These noble warriors were the epitome of strength and discipline, revered by many for their unwavering commitment to Bushido, the samurai code of honor. But peel back the layers and you'll uncover a darker, more sinister side to their legacy. Now, when you think of samurai, what comes to mind? Perhaps visions of skilled swordsmen battling honorably on the battlefield, or serving as protectors of the realm. But what if I told you there was a shadowy underbelly to their honor-bound facade? That's right, behind closed doors, the samurai often wielded their power with ruthless cruelty and unchecked brutality. You see, for the samurai, honor wasn't just about valor and integrity. It was about dominance and control. They operated in a society where power was paramount, and they didn't hesitate to assert their authority through fear and intimidation. But what drove these noble warriors to such depths of extremity? Some say it was the very code they swore to uphold, Bushido. While it preached virtues like loyalty, courage, and integrity, it also fostered a culture of supremacy and entitlement. For the samurai, honor wasn't just a badge of distinction. It was a weapon to be wielded against those deemed inferior. The bloody Bushido Code of Conduct. Let's lift the veil on a chilling aspect of Bushido that often remains hidden in the shadows, revealing a dark underbelly of this code of honor stained with blood and brutality. For all the talk of Bushido as a code of honor and morality, it harbors a very sinister side, steeped in practices that would shock the modern conscience. Take, for instance, seppuku, the ritualized suicide by disembowelment and decapitation. Can you fathom the horror of such an agonizing end? Picture a samurai patiently enduring unbearable pain as he carries out this horrific act, only to be swiftly, you could say, ended by the other warriors when the torment becomes too much to bear. And they'd usually finish the job by chopping off the head. Now, why really were the samurai killing themselves? Well, because in simple terms, they had severe issues. Being defeated or feeling like there was no chance of a win was a huge dishonor for them. But this was usually a last resort move that the samurai would pull. In a lot of instances of defeat, they would retreat to go finish the job the next day. But a lot, and by a lot I mean a lot of cases, included this suicide where the samurai would resort to seppuku. One famous story is of Murakami Yoshiteru, who attempted to distract an enemy force by pretending to be his lord, that is, the general in a way, while cutting open his own stomach and throwing his organs at the attackers below, while his lord escaped. Oh, talk about loyalty. Now, this self-sacrifice doesn't just stop at spilling out your organs. It involved a lot of different activities, one could say. For example, in the legend of the Genpei War, warriors faced with total defeat chose to drown themselves rather than be captured or be killed, so they leapt into the water, and obviously their heavy armor and weapons carried them under. Oh, did we forget to mention that this practice also went beyond just a single samurai? If a defeated warrior knew that his family was in danger, he would often make sure that they too would be slain to save them from the torment of execution, torture, and rape. Talk about extreme. Some family members might have even chosen to take their own lives before death was forced upon them. But seppuku is just one facet of the darkness that lurks within Bushido. Consider the ritual of kiritsuke gomen, the act of killing and apologizing. If a samurai felt offended by someone of lower status, they had the power to execute them on the spot, provided they could justify their actions. I mean, literally the only thing he had to do was explain the reason why or have eyewitnesses. It's a chilling reminder of the power wielded by the samurai class and the value placed on honor above all else. And then there's tsujigiri, or crossroads killing, where samurai would test the sharpness of their blades on unsuspecting passersby. Just imagine walking on the streets and some entitled man thinking he can use you as a blade sharpener just to demonstrate the superiority of their sword techniques. But perhaps the most disturbing aspect of Bushido's dark side is its evolution during World War II. Twisted into a belief in Japanese superiority and blind obedience to the emperor, Bushido became a tool of propaganda and oppression, leading to unspeakable atrocities on the battlefield and beyond. The trophy hunts of war. Let's debunk the myth of noble combat and honor on the battlefield. While some samurai followed a code of conduct or wartime etiquette, many engaged in acts of slaughter, pillaging, looting, rape, and torture that defy comprehension. In the bloody aftermath of battle, samurai engaged in an extremely horrific ritual. What was it, you may ask? Head-taking. Yes, collecting the head of a fallen warrior like a trophy. This wasn't just about glory, it was about proving loyalty to one's lord and securing rewards like wealth, titles, land, and also very importantly, recognition. It was also, in a way, displaying proof of their service to their lord. But the reality was far more savage. In the frenzy of battle, samurai chopped off heads with ruthless efficiency, sometimes even resorting to mutilating bodies for easier-to-carry trophies, like noses or ears, which was also less time-consuming. It was a brutal game of numbers, where during the post-battle head-viewing ceremony, the more heads one claimed, the greater the reward. This has a much darker tone to it, yet behind this horror lay an even darker picture. Deception was very common, with warriors presenting lower-ranking heads as those of high-ranking soldiers, just to not miss out on the reward. Or there were times when random individuals were grabbed by soldiers and held down while another hacked off the head. The samurai would also try to claim heads as quickly as possible, and oftentimes other men would even steal the bodiless heads off of the battlefields. Groups of warriors might have even tried to work together to claim as many heads as they could. But the savagery didn't end on the battlefield. Victory only fueled the samurai's cruelty, leading to atrocities of unparalleled horror. In the Imjin War, the invasion of Korea, samurai unleashed a wave of brutality upon the defeated populace despite them already having lost, and asked for mercy. Massacres, rape, and slaughter were rampant, sparing neither men nor women. And the evilness it must have taken to even slaughter the poor cats and dogs as a blood sacrifice to their god of war. The total number is estimated to have been 85,000. The attack on Mount Hiei. While we are on the topic of war, it's a given we'll shed a light on this incident. Imagine the scene. It's the 12th day of the 9th month, and Mount Hiei, a sacred site of immense spiritual significance, is under siege. The peace of the holy grounds is shattered as swarms of troops, led by none other than the Emperor Nobunaga, descend upon it with a ferocity that defies belief. In a flash, flames consume everything in their path. The army had set fire to probably the most peaceful place on earth that had nothing whatsoever to do with war. Holy shrines, monks' quarters, ancient sutra scrolls, all reduced to nothing but ashes and scorched earth. Not only was the temple destroyed, but all of their ancient knowledge. The air is thick with smoke, and the ground trembles with the frantic footsteps of men and women, young and old, fleeing for their lives. But there is no escape from the merciless onslaught. Soldiers, fueled by battle cries and the promise of glory, advance relentlessly, cutting down anyone in their path without mercy or distinction. Priests, laymen, children, wise men, and holy men alike fall dead to the savagery of war, their heads cut off and presented to the emperor. And yet the horror doesn't end there. At the pinnacle of Mount Hiei, amidst the chaos and despair, countless innocent women and young boys are seized and dragged before Nobunaga himself. Their pleas for mercy fall on deaf ears, as Nobunaga, unmoved by their suffering, orders their execution without hesitation. and off with their heads, because one by one the soldiers beheaded them. The scene that unfolds is nothing short of a nightmare. Thousands of corpses litter the ground, each one a tragic testament to the cruelty and brutality of war. It's a pitiful end to a once sacred sanctuary, a haunting reminder of the depths of human depravity. In the face of such atrocities, it's impossible not to feel a sense of disbelief and horror. How could such destruction and senseless violence be unleashed upon a place of peace and reverence? Twisted torture techniques and intolerance. In the depths of samurai cruelty, where torture was not just a means to an end, but a sadistic display of power and dominance, let's just take a look at a few. Serious crimes such as murder and arson were punished by death. The shogunate, which you could say was their version of a police force, maintained specific execution grounds for the people during that time period. Kozukapara, one such site, is estimated to have been a place where 1 to 200,000 people were. But the way the criminals were executed is what is truly horrific, because so many various ways were used. Boiling to death, execution by burning, crucifixion for killing a parent or husband, decapitation by sword, execution by hanging, sawing, and waist cutting. Yes, you heard that right. You were literally sawing people in half like animal meat. The death penalty also often carried collateral punishments. One was parading the criminal around town prior to execution, often naked. A similar one was a public display of the criminal prior to execution. And last but definitely not the least was the public display of the severed head. Now let's come to how they treated their enemies. In Japanese history, the clash between Christianity and traditional beliefs stands out as a dark chapter marked by oppression and violence. Toyotomi Hideyoshi, a powerful warlord of the time, waged a ruthless campaign against Christians, viewing their presence as a threat to social stability. The infamous incident of the 26 martyrs of Japan, which unfolded in 1597, shows this brutality of Hideyoshi's reign. These martyrs, including Japanese Catholics and foreigners, were subjected to unspeakable horrors before meeting their gruesome end. Hideyoshi ordered their noses and ears to be severed, a disgusting act intended to humiliate and dehumanize them. But the cruelty didn't stop there. They were then crucified and impaled with spears, a horrific spectacle meant to instill fear and obedience in the populace. What makes this incident even more chilling is the irony of using crucifixion, a method of execution commonly associated with Christian martyrdom, against actual Christians. It's a stark reminder of the depths of human depravity. But Hideyoshi's atrocities were not confined to religious persecution. Throughout his reign, he wielded power with an iron fist, unleashing terror upon those who dared to oppose him. His reign was characterized by terror. The treatment of women. Think samurai cruelty was reserved for the battlefield? Think again. Listen to the harrowing tales of women who fell victim to the samurai's unchecked power, their lives forever scarred by violence and oppression. For women in feudal Japan, contrary to the romanticized image of noble protectors, samurai often wielded their authority like a weapon, leaving devastation in their wake. They also had wartime roles, but they were far from glamorous. While the men marched off to battle, women were left behind to perform gruesome tasks, like washing and preparing the decapitated bloody heads of the enemy. These grisly trophies were then presented to victorious generals. But the horrors didn't end on the battlefield. Within the confines of their own homes, women lived in constant fear of the men who were supposed to protect them. Forced marriages and sexual slavery were disturbingly common, with samurai exercising their authority with no regards or humanity. Travel was also a luxury few samurai women could afford. Restricted by strict regulations, they were forbidden from traveling alone and had to carry travel permits, enduring harassment by authorities at every government inspection post. And during the Tokugawa period, the oppression of women reached new heights. Regardless of their social standing, samurai women were treated as semi-slaves by their husbands, confined by a rigid hierarchy that placed them firmly beneath men. Even marriage to a man of higher social status did little to change their position. Their worth was determined not by their accomplishments or character, but by their gender. although women did try to exercise freedom in their own way. Personal honor was quite important for them too, and they carried small daggers as a symbol of their readiness to die to maintain their honor and family name. Yet even their acts of defiance were overshadowed by the violent influence of male dominance. We hope that your perceptions have been shattered once more by today's video. In this riveting journey, we've exposed the sinister truths behind the samurai code, from the brutality of warfare to the twisted torture techniques and the depths of human depravity. But our exploration is far from over, so join us on our next adventure as we continue to unravel the hidden truths of the past. Don't miss out, so like and subscribe now for more captivating tales, and don't forget to comment about what else you'd like to see.